So welcome to Connect Safely Live, the live webcast that we do every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Most of the time, I am joined by my co-host, my colleague, and my good friend, Kerry Gallagher, all the way from Danvers, Massachusetts, or somewhere near Danvers, Massachusetts. I say Danvers because that's where her school, St. John's Prep,
that's where
is.
my school is. Yeah,
I
live about 40 minutes from there, but yeah, still northeastern Massachusetts. That's where I am. Mm-hmm.
And our special guest today is also a good friend, Tami Bhaumik, who is the vice president of Roblox. And many of you, especially parents, are probably very familiar with Roblox because it's a gaming platform for children where people can create games, and many young people do create games. Some of them earn a good living by doing it, and millions more get to play games. So Tami, welcome to Connect Safely Live.
Thank you very much, Larry. We have known each other for quite a long time, haven't we? We've known each other for over 20 years.
Tami, you upped my cool. You upped my cool factor with my own children because I said I have to hop on a call. Are you good to go with your lunch and everything? Because it is lunchtime here on the East Coast. And they said, who is this call with? And I said, oh, I'm interviewing somebody who works at Roblox. And they were like, what? Will you tell that person that it's so fun? And I was like, yes, I will. I will tell them that for you.
The only time in my life that I have such cool factor is when I'm wearing Roblox shirts and backpacks and, you know, our nifty little water bottle here.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Yeah. I oftentimes get stopped outside with kids thinking I'm like Beyonce. So
wow, you're a rock star. Tami, rock star. That's great. Yeah, as Tami mentioned, we've known each other 20 years. I was her kindergarten teacher. That's a good story anyway. Well, I mean, let's talk a little bit about Roblox and in general, and then of course we want to segue into how Roblox is responding and how it's being affected by what's going on in the world today. But in general, describe what Roblox is and how people can interact with it and why it's so cool that you become a rock star.
Yes. Well, you know, Roblox has been around for since 2006. We've been around for quite a while, but we've recently seen tremendous growth over the course of the last 5 years or so, 5-6 years. And really a lot of that is because in a lot of ways we've created a metaverse where it allows people to come together to share experiences. We now have over 120 million monthly active users on our platform. All of our content is created by young people developing games and experiences and publishing it out on our platform. We honestly don't view ourselves as a gaming company per se. We are a technology platform that enables developers to create experiences, and then we help to get it out to the millions of people that are out there. So the types of games and experiences that are out there really, really range from, you know, obstacle courses to just games where kids hang out, interact, socialize together. And Roblox has really become the new hangout spot where people are able to really be who they want to be through a virtual avatar, wander through these experiences, play with friends, jump into different experiences after experiences. And it's really, honestly, so much fun. And what we've heard from kids around the world is some of their best friends have been made on Roblox.
I love that. I just posted a picture on Instagram last night of my daughter doing a Zoom chat with her friends who she hasn't seen in person now for weeks. And the parents, we were all able to kind of get this group of kids, arrange it for them and let them hang out together. And I'm also getting a lot of, and I think so it's important for kids to have that space, right? I'm also getting a lot of questions in my role as an educator who works a lot with technology and education about what levels of screen time are going to be okay for our kids under these circumstances, right? And one of the things I always warn in my response is there's a difference between like active screen time that's cognitive and social, right? And creative and passive screen time. So I'm wondering if you could talk to that and how Roblox creates like you mentioned, something that's more social and cognitive for our kids, because that's the type of screen time we want to emphasize.
Yeah. So, Kerry, we see that too. And we always promote balance in life. But in this very, very, very strange time that we're all in, the definition of balance is different. And I think that a lot of parents do worry about the amount of screen time that their kids are having. But, in all honesty, it really comes down to quality of screen time. And, the types of interactions that we're seeing with a lot of kids, it is an outlet for them to be able to connect with their friends and others, to also just have fun in this stressful time. It's really, really important. It's also an opportunity for parents to join with their kids in the virtual world and to be a part of it, to learn the vernacular, to learn the experiences that they have. And in fact, some of the greatest interactions that we're hearing are parents actually hanging out with their kids, asking them how their kids to teach them to play a certain game that they like and why they like it. And it's opened up such tremendous, positive, healthy conversations. And it's helped form deeper bonds between parent and child. And so that's something we're really excited about as well. And in fact, just recently, in support, and I know we'll probably get to this one, I'm perhaps jumping ahead a little bit, but we have really worked quickly to open up more tools that allow for deeper parent-child interaction, to allow and support the teaching tools that are available on Roblox, to not only teach kids about how to program and code online through self-paced programs called Learn and Explore, but then in addition to that, suggestions for parents as to what games to play with their kids that will help deepen those connections.
I do want to talk a little bit more about the kind of the parental tools that you're referring to, but I also want to talk about the other side of Roblox. So I was watching broadcast television last night, and I saw an Apple ad that I thought was really great, promoting creativity. And of course, they were promoting their own products, but you don't have to own an Apple product to be creative. And it made me think about a panel that we had at Safer Internet Day this year that you actually moderated about creativity. And you had one of your Roblox developers, a young woman, on, and then we also had a person from TikTok, another platform that allows for creativity and development and developers. So I wonder if you talk about the other side of it from the standpoint of what does it offer a young person to become a developer, whether it's on Roblox or YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or any other platform?
So what we find is that on Roblox, players usually evolve to become developers on the platform. And something that we are really finding is that a lot of our developers find it as a way of self-expression. A lot of our developers, they come from the world of, they love playing Roblox, but then they get an idea in their head of some sort of experience or game that they want to be able to create. So they go into our tools, they start learning about programming, and they learn from our community. The developer community is one that's very tight, very supportive. So they learn a lot of their skills through their friends that they make on the platform. For other developers, it is a form of expression. And from what we've heard from some, going through traumatic times, it was their saving grace. Mm-hmm. And they've created games as a form of self-expression to be able to communicate feelings that they may not be able to articulate. In fact, we shared one amazing, wonderful story that I'm always very proud to share. And a little boy, Luke, lost his father to suicide when he was 2 years old and his brother was 2 weeks old. Luke is now 11, and he developed a game on Roblox to teach others about depression and anxiety. And his whole focus was to destigmatize mental health, and that we have to talk about it. trying to put up this facade that everything's great and everything's good and you're happy is not something that kids need to really understand and know that they need to talk about it, and there are resources that are available. So he put together an obstacle course that where you start out on the base layer and it's gray and it's dark, and you move your way through the obstacle course, learning about facts about mental health. By the time you get to the top, once you've learned so much about mental health and the resources that are available, it's rainbowy and there's confetti, and he's since gone on to expand out that game in a lot of different ways, with parks and little recreational areas. And it's something that has made him feel so much better about helping others. So again, that's just one of many, many, many stories that I can share about how Roblox is being used to support mental health and self-expression.
And one of the things that I noticed when we had our Safer Internet Day event, not only this year, but a couple of years ago, we also had a Roblox developer, in that case, a young man. I think he was a college student. And in both cases, the high school students in the audience were in awe of these developers. They were really like the modern day rock stars. And
yes.
I wonder, what is that about that phenomenon, how people really look up to these developers? And it's not like the YouTube stars where you see them on screen. They're people who are recognized for their coding ability and their creativity.
Yeah, I think that honestly, they're so much more relatable because a lot of these kids see themselves in these developers, and it's not so crazy to think that they could become one of them.
Mm-hmm.
They are something that they interact with every day. They almost feel like they get to know these developers, and these developers, especially some of our more senior developers, they are making updates almost every day to their games. So a lot of the players see that work and they see the changes that are being made. A lot of our developers have a very strong voice on Twitter, so they start getting to know their personalities. And they really, really start to connect. It's just like, I think just in the olden days where we all watched a TV show that we all absolutely loved, and when the producer or somebody came out, everybody reveled in that producer or director, even though they weren't directly on screen, but they knew that they had a hand in it.
I love how you call your users and creators. I like how you call them developers, no matter their age. I think that's really powerful, and it really gives kids a sense of importance. And that's probably one of the reasons Roblox is such a popular platform, because it really empowers the user, the developer. At the same time, those developers are still kids who have parents, right? And as kids are starting to explore platforms that parents are familiar with, they worry. But Roblox has taken all that into account. So maybe you could share a little bit with us about what Roblox has to offer for parents who worry about safety and who their kids will connect with on Roblox and all of that.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, our vision is to bring the world together through play. Well, you can't bring the world together through play unless you have a safe space to play in. So we have really prioritized safety on the platform. So through our trust and moderation team, which is massive, we absolutely have rules and guidelines, and we have both machine learning as well as human moderators that review every audio file, video file. We also have chat filters that are in place across the platform, chat filters that are even more restrictive for 13 and under. So, but regardless, we always have chat filters throughout the platform as well. And we have a huge emphasis and adherence to make sure that civility is a key component to the Roblox platform. We're very, very proud that our response mechanism for moderation, the turnaround time is very quick. And we do respond. We have several mechanisms within both the game as well as the platform to report bad behavior. We also have parental settings in the platform itself, and we really highly encourage parents to go into the settings of Roblox and set that up the way that you feel comfortable setting it up. So we have, again, no chat. We have options for no chat, chat with friends, or chat with everyone. We have a PIN number where you can set to make sure that your kids don't reset the settings that you've already set up for them. So I highly encourage that you make sure that the settings are set up the way that you want them to be set up, and the birth dates that when your kids are signing up are true and correct, so that the filters are working the way you want them to work.
Those are all really great options. I think another really obvious option to help parents feel more comfortable is to experience the platform themselves with their kids, right? I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about how parents and their kids have worked together on Roblox.
Yeah, so I'll give you a story. And Larry, I think you know Dr. Jordan Shapiro. Mm-hmm. So we work with Dr. Jordan Shapiro. He is an author as well as a psychologist, a child psychologist, and he was telling a story about right after his divorce. He had two little boys. He had a hard time connecting with them, and he was not a gamer. He didn't do any sort of video games or anything. And he sat down in order to, when he had his time with his two sons, he sat down with them and asked them how to play Roblox. What do you like about it? And it was some of the best experiences that he has had. And there was like a new dawning for him about how this is almost like the new car ride. You know, when you like drive and those conversations happen sort of organically. In gaming with parents and kids, it's the same type of organic conversations that come up. And, you know, it's amazing what you can find out and learn from your kid when they're in a relaxed state, and it's just sort of you're playing with them. So it's a great example.
That makes a lot of sense, and it's one of the reasons why at Connect Safely we always advise parents to talk with their kids and interact with their kids, and if you can, join them on whatever medium they're using in an appropriate way. That doesn't mean you stalk them on social media, but I love the idea of parents and kids playing together. As long as we're talking on the safety theme, there was a time when a lot of internet safety experts said you should never interact with strangers. You should always only interact with people you know. But that's really not the way most young people engage in social media anymore. They may still play games with their friends from school or church or whatever, but we're finding a lot of kids are reaching out and forming new friendships. So I was wondering if you could talk about both the benefits, the risks, and the way you manage the risks of getting to know people online that you may not know from in person.
Yeah, thank you for asking that, Larry. I think it's a really important opportunity for us to really talk about this and really, really bring this up. What we're hearing from teens and from kids, some of their best friends are online and they don't know them in real life, right? But they, in some ways, the relationships that they have are more trusted than some of their real life friends. And so the biggest learning that I have had as a parent is to focus not necessarily on don't talk to strangers online. More than anything is to focus on asking the right questions and helping your child to form that, what I call spidey sense, and to make sure that they are asking the right questions about friends. Ask your child, why do you like them? Right? What sort of interactions have you had that makes you think that they're a good friend? And really starting to form some of the, just as you would out in the real world, right? When you cross the street, would you take your kid and allow your child just to run across the street without any guidance? No, you hold their hand, you look right, look left, you listen. And you create and you build that mental muscle. The same thing needs to happen online, right? Is a lot of kids are developing friendships online, and to say and to tell them that they can't is potentially alienating them from a world that's very, very important to them. And we are applying as adults our standards and our history to a new world that honestly we can't understand. And so to go in with open eyes and to really, really focus on what's important to them and how they interact in this real life, in the digital world, is something that we need to respect as adults.
I'm going to quote the man you may know, the great Larry Magid, who I believe said that the best way that we can protect our children from online dangers is by developing the filter that is between their ears, right? And I think that's what you're talking about. And
Right.
That really does bring me, it's a nice segue to my next question, because I love that built into your title is the phrase digital civility. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about what does digital civility mean to you, and what are some things that parents can do to help their children develop that filter, which will help them recognize digital civility in their own behaviors and then behaviors of others.
Yeah, so I think that we're still so early on in this digital world, and we're still establishing the rule set for operating in this world. But when we came up with the term digital civility, we really wanted to focus more than anything on empowering young people to create positive experiences for themselves online, and to be able to not be afraid of the digital world. And hopefully getting that word out to parents and educating parents as well is that, screen time and having friends in the online world is not something to be feared, and not something to, put your head in a hole and hide from it, or take away devices, which is even more detrimental, because in a lot of ways you're putting your child at a disadvantage because they're not able to form that muscle or that filter. But instead empowering them and making them feel like they're in control. So that's one of the reasons why we had digital civility is a world of kindness and security, to where you can express yourself. And it's all about digital wellness, or wellness in general. I was just talking to my director of digital civility, Laura Higgins, who I know you all know as well, who's wonderful. And she said, let's just get rid of the word digital.
Yeah.
Let's just call it wellness, right?
I agree.
That line between the digital world and the physical world are no more. People are living in both simultaneously.
I just have one quick comment. Sorry, Larry. It just, when I talk to parent group, I get hired by PTOs and PTAs to come and chat with parents about everything you just said, which was so well stated. And parents are so accustomed to talking to their kids about food and, have you had a vegetable today? You're not really sleeping well, and they don't need to be experts on nutrition or sleep to teach their children about those things. So I think it's so important for us to really start holding ourselves to a standard when it comes to teaching digital wellness as it's another facet of parenting, right?
Yeah, and I think again, encouraging those parents, jump in there, because you can't, parents eat and parents sleep. They can speak to that, right? But if parents aren't in the digital world, even just a little bit, to understand or try to understand what this digital world is for their kids, they can't speak to it. So I think it's a really big opportunity for parents to form those bonds and really jump in and see what that experience is like.
A couple of observations. One is that even if you think your kids know more about tech than you do, which they may or may not, but a lot of parents think about that, you've been on the planet for a few decades longer than they have, and you have wisdom. And wisdom goes a long way towards understanding, like you pointed out, you don't have to be a nutritionist to understand that you should eat vegetables and limit fats and sugars, et cetera. That wisdom can be applied to the digital world equally as well. I want to segue, if I may, to something that's in the news. You may have heard Facebook just announced that they've launched a gaming app, and similar to Twitch, this is an app where you can either watch other people play games, or you can do your own gaming, do your own streaming of your own playing. And when I first heard about this, I said, this is nutty. Why would anybody want to sit around and watch people play games? And then Twitch, of course, became incredibly successful. And then somebody pointed out that we go to spectator sports all the time. Why would somebody want to watch someone play baseball or football? And the fact is that millions of people around the world do that normally, maybe not this month, but normally all the time. So I understand that Roblox also has that kind of activity where you can observe people playing. And I'm curious, what is your thinking about that? Why is that becoming so popular?
I think that you can break it down into active play and passive. And I think you need both in the entertainment world. I mean, a lot of our Roblox players love to get in and play and hang out. But then there are other times where they just want to kick back and relax and watch other people play their favorite games. People who may be better at it, they can learn different tricks and tips and things like that for becoming more successful. But I know that, with Roblox, our number one source of referrals is word of mouth. So kids telling other kids about it, but also YouTube influencers. So influencers are a big part of discovery of Roblox and different games on our platform. So, it's definitely something that's very, very, very popular. Roblox is played, all over the world. So there are influencers all over the world in every country that are streaming and taping different games that speak to them. So the opportunity for discovering new games and different tricks for how to successfully navigate their way through these games, something that's very, very popular and very important to our overall ecosystem.
Speaking of other forms of sports besides online, when I think back to when my kids were little, they were in soccer teams and basketball teams, and at one point they were in Little League. And there were two things that I reflect on that. One is that we would go to those games, just kind of you talked about before. We would observe them, we would cheer them on, we would encourage them. But the other thing is, I don't recall a parent ever 3/4 of the way through a soccer game saying, Johnny, it's time for lunch. You need to leave the field and come go eat lunch or clean up your room or whatever it is that they may need to do. Parents knew that this game would last a certain amount of time, and maybe exactly or approximately, and they were allowed to play the entire game. Yet online, it's common, I think, for parents to just arbitrarily decide on their schedule that it's time for their kid to walk away from the device when that kid could literally be in the middle of another game and not only enjoying himself or herself, but also interacting with other people who expect them to finish the game. I wonder if you could comment on what is the proper etiquette for parents to make sure their kids do step away at an appropriate time, but at the same time, they're not overly taking their kids out at the wrong moment.
Yeah, I think it all goes back to civility, like kind of wraps around, is that not only civility that we need to teach our kids, but then we also as parents need to really recognize as well is this is a whole new world and the rules of engagement are different, right? So instead of saying, hey, come to dinner or come get your lunch right now, if you don't, I'm taking this plate away, you're gonna miss out on lunch if you don't come right now. Again, it's respecting that digital world and giving your child some control over those social dynamics online and giving them a heads up saying, hey, after this next game, come to dinner, right? Can you give me an estimate of how long it's going to be? And again, putting that control back into your child will help to formulate deeper bonds and trust and respect, which will hopefully bode well for the family.
So practical, really practical. And now that we have all this extended time at home, giving kids a little more say over how they use their time, because they're used to being literally controlled by bells in school, right? Really is empowering them with a life skill, I think, that it will serve them well in the long run. And speaking of our extended time at home, I wanted to sort of bring this to where we are right now, because a lot of things you're talking about are really timeless, and the value of Roblox, whether we are under a stay-at-home order or not, But under the stay-at-home order, if a parent who's listening has a child who's really passionate about video games and creating online games and, you know, connecting digitally, maybe you could provide some ideas for how the parents could really leverage Roblox to get their kids to create something useful. Like, I really love the example you mentioned early on about the game that's meant to teach about depression. What are some other lessons that Roblox games teach, and how could that maybe spur some ideas for parents to encourage their kids to really serve the rest of society by engaging in Roblox?
Yeah, so we've just rolled out several different things for parents and kids. And I highly encourage going to our corporate site, corp.roblox.com. Scroll to the very bottom, and there's an education link on our footer. You can click to that. And there are 2 boxes that you can click on, one for educators and the other for students. And there are a couple of things, we're offering different studio webinars. We have a development studio, it's called Studio, with the tools. So we have webinars, we have guidance on teaching remotely for parents, and then Learn and Explore, which is a self-paced program designed to help kids and teens learn how to program experiences on Roblox. And then again, on our catalog, in our sort, we have a special sort that we've curated called Play Together. And that Play Together highlights different games and experiences that are really, really good for parents, teens, kids to be able to play together. So, I think we have a lot of different resources that support kids and teens and families and teachers in this really odd time that we find ourselves in.
And speaking of resources, I have to put in a plug for Connect Safely. It's 2 guides to Roblox. We have a parent's guide to Roblox, as well as a shorter back-to-back mini guide, or quick guide as we call them. So if you go to ConnectSafely.org and you click on the guides tab, you'll find guides to Roblox, also some other products like Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok and others. But we were very happy to partner with Roblox to create those guides. And yes, Tami, I know we're late in getting the revised version out, but it will be out very shortly.
Thank you, Larry.
The problem with technology is it keeps changing. You guys keep making changes, getting it better, hopefully.
Yeah, we keep making every day, making it better and better.
That's your job. Well, listen, I just want to thank both Tami and Kerry for what I think has been a great episode of Connect Safely Live. We really maybe have you back again, Kerry. I know I'm going to see you again next week on another episode, and I hope to see everybody else. And these episodes, as I mentioned earlier, are live at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays and Thursdays on both Zoom, and when the gods of connectivity are working, on Facebook Live as well. I can see that we are on Facebook. And also, this will be archived on Facebook. If you go to facebook.com/connectsafely, you can not only watch this one, but all the past episodes, or you can go to ConnectSafely.org/live and watch all of our past episodes as well as this. So please tell your friends, and hope to see you next week.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you, Tami. This is great.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thanks so much.
Bye.